our workshop's sliding into infinity. I don't even know if you know what it's about, but is very much about the changes that are happening right now on our planet. And so many people talk about the stress of right now. And so we're going to address that and look at healing things we can do. And I really am teaching this. Well, it gives us a chance to try out our techie stuff. This is sort of our dry run, but I'm teaching it really for Cindy because she told me she couldn't wait until spring. And I just thought, let's, I can teach it anytime. Of course, it's not going to be as comprehensive as a day and a half. I could cover lots more then, but you know.
And you chose these days as auspicious days.
Yes, we did. We did. That's true. Thank you for reminding me of that. These days were chosen astrologically because of really good aspects going on for the teaching and the work and whatever. So let's start out. I'd like to start out with just a very short little meditation. And so make yourselves comfortable. And as we relax together and focus together this afternoon, pardon me. Know that as you move into this work and as we focus together, just allow any sound that happens to be part of your meditation. Just imagine this is life unfolding around you. And do whatever you need to do to be comfortable. If you need to stretch or scratch or clear your throat, anything. Change your position. At any point during our work, feel free to do that. And in this moment, as we focus together, simply pay attention to your breathing and feel how good it feels to breathe. Imagine that every incoming breath is bringing with it a soothing wave of relaxation. Every outgoing breath carries with it all of the tension of the day, all out and away from you. As we enter this work today, we declare this sacred time and sacred space. and feel the inflowing of light entering our circle. Just breathe this light in, allowing it to lift your consciousness and open all your senses. May the light be with us. May our inner teachers and guides, our greater selves, guide us. We dedicate this work today for the upliftment of all life, for harmony on our planet. And we ask, may we each be more aware of our part and our possibility in the greater plan. So be it. Amen. And just allow yourself to return and bring with you that feeling of peace, that feeling of openness. So we give thanks too that we can come together and we have the freedom to do this work and study and learn and grow. I'd like you, unless you have just a burning question, to write your question down, and toward the end, or at the end of our work, we'll have some open time for questions, and that will help me cover the material I'd like to teach today. So we're going to be talking about what's going on the planet right now, and a lot of people are really worried about what's happening, and I don't hear it as much right now as I did, but you know, for a while there was a lot of talk about end time, like, you know, this is the end and everything's, you know, humanity is gonna not be existing on this planet anymore. And it's interesting, I don't hear that quite as much as I did maybe a few years ago. But there's still, I feel people are very worried about what's happening. And people are often now, I believe, having a kind of negative take on what's going on. Mm-hmm. What I'd like to bring through today, as much as anything, that what is happening right now is so right. It's so natural, and it's been predicted for eons of time, you know. And so there is a lot of change happening, and there is a cultural change. I feel that we are starting into a real breakdown of a lot of our culture as it has existed. There's also a very real energetic change, and I don't know if you have ever heard of the Heart Math Institute. I really need to join them because I'm always supporting them. I need to join them. They do a lot of research on many, many interesting things. But one of the things they're doing is actually measuring the vibratory frequency of our planet. And it is, I have been told, absolutely phenomenal how much the frequency of the planet is changing right now. That the actual energy that we are in is changing. And I think a lot of us can really feel that. The more sensitive you are, of course, the more you'll feel it. But I think for people who aren't even particularly, tuned in, they can tell something's going on that feels different. And this energetic change is very hard on our physical bodies. That's one thing I want you to know. The energetic change is very challenging for us on every level. And so it creates stress. And it's very, very important, and we're going to get into this more in the teaching today, to really pay attention to your body right now. A lot of people just cannot adjust to this change. And I know death is a normal, absolutely normal thing, but many people are passing over right now because they cannot make this shift physically. And so we'll be talking about things you can do to be less stressed and to help your body and to really have perhaps a more positive attitude about this time. First of all, I'd like to help us look at time, period. Earth and time. We feel like time is sort of like a path or a road, and we're going down that path, and 1 month passes and another month, and then we go further, and somehow our brains are hooked up in such a way that we experience time in a very linear fashion. And for us, that feels very real, that time is like a train, and we see the boxcars going by, and it's like time passing by. Actually, time is not a straight line at all. It is circular. And, one of the teachings, and the teachings I'm supporting in the work I do, are metaphysical teachings, and I call them the wisdom teachings. And these teachings have existed even before written language. So they're very, very old teachings, and they've been passed down. And at times they were passed down in a very secretive way. When metaphysical lessons and teaching were not allowed, the teachings were hidden in things like tarot cards. And tarot cards actually are a progression of the evolution of a soul. And these are metaphysical teachings, but they're hidden. I've heard for many years that there was no beginning and there is no end. And I heard it and heard it and heard it. And I kept trying to understand it. And it's like, how can there be no beginning? How can that be? It's like, it almost made me angry because I kept thinking, that just can't be. Everything has a beginning. So what I'm almost embarrassed to admit, I just recently came to realize is that time is a circle. It's circular. And if you look at a circle, there's no beginning and there's no end. And so finally it hit me, oh, that's why time has no beginning. It's a circle. And so on Earth, time is circular. Even though our brains are saying, no, it's linear, it is circular. And it operates through cycles, and the cycles repeat themselves. So if you think of it in this way, think of a slinky. Remember those little things that you could set on the stairs and you could knock them and they'd go boom down one stair, boom down the next stair. And they're sort of like springs, you know. And if you think of that, a slinky, there are all these circles. And one circle above another, above another, above another. And yet they're not all on the same level. And that's how I think of time. It's circular, and as it circles, it spirals so that you will go through a similar energy, but it will be on a different level. And then later you'll go through that same energy again, but yet again on a different level. And so the circles of time are not just all the same, even though we, like, one of the examples of the circular nature of time is the astrological wheel. And if you've ever had your astrological chart done, you see that it's a circle. And the sun is charted in that circle, traveling around the circle year after year, year after year, and all the other planets traveling around the circle. And but I'd like you to see that when the sun hits the same place, it's hitting the same place, so you're going to experience a similar energy, but you'll experience it in a different way because you are not on the same circle. The circle is rising. So these cycles on Earth are absolutely normal, they're predictable. We experience them all the time, like day and night. That's a cycle. But think of the seasons in particular. Those are repeatable, predictable cycles. And yet the energy of each season, if you think about it and pay attention to it, really feels different. Like, it's interesting, just recently as fall was coming in, there was a day and I felt it and I said, fall, the energy of fall. And it feels different than the energy of summer. It's not just a weather change, it's an energy change. So I'd like you to think of that these cycles of Earth have different energies. Spring has a different energy than winter, not just weather-wise, but actually energetically. So there are not only these cycles I'm talking about that are really short cycles, but there are huge, huge cycles also, and all kinds of things in between, because we measure time on Earth, you know, like a century, a millennium, you know. But these larger cycles are huge, and yet each cycle has its own particular energy. And these large cycles repeat themselves. They're predictable. even in terms of time and when they're going to happen, is predictable. The large cycles I'm talking about align with the zodiac.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 12 great cycles that the earth moves through over and over. And it's sort of like the sun going around your natal chart. These cycles are called ages. And get this, they last approximately 2,400 years. And an astrologer I really respect recently said they may even be up to, at times, 26,000 years. So they're very, very big cycles. Each of these cycles or ages are similar in energy to one of the 12 signs of the zodiac. And they are called, for the names, are from the names of the zodiac signs. Like, for instance, right now on Earth, we are moving through and coming into, not moving through, well, we're moving through because we're traveling in it, the Aquarian age. And just recently, we passed out of the Piscean age. And the exact time that this happened was December 12th, 2012. Oh, I'm saying the wrong date. December 21st, 2012. So, we are officially in the Aquarian age now. But there's something going on beyond that we're in the Aquarian age now. And this is such an important time on our planet right now. In fact, really, people, I have had this image and this feeling that everyone who's alive during this time period almost fought to have the right to get here. Like, it reminds me of people at a sale and they're elbowing each other to grab a chicken or something. You know, it's like people, I feel, on a soul level, really wanted to come in right now because of this change of energy, and because this change of energy speeds up our evolution and our growth. So the changing time is called the cusp, C-U-S-P. And we are in the cusp between the Piscean age that we're moving out of and have moved out of, and the Aquarian age we're moving into. And during the Piscean age, the 24,000 years, the energy was similar to the sign of Pisces. And we'll talk more now in detail about that. And as we come over into the Aquarian, these energies are going to begin to be more like the energy of the sign of Aquarius. And again, as I said, we'll talk more about what those are specifically. The cusp lasts 500 years, and that sounds like, wow, that's long. But if you think of it as the period between two 24,000 year cycles, it's not very long. It's kind of a short little thing compared to the ages. So the cusp is 250 years at the end of the Piscean age, and it is also 250 years at the beginning of the Aquarian age. So we're right there right in the middle of the cusp. You know, since the Aquarian age started in 2012. Now, this cusp time is the most unstable time on our planet ever. Every time there's a change of age and the planet goes through the cusp, boy, energy becomes chaotic, it becomes unsettled, it's very, very stressful for everything on the planet, these changing energies. And all the kingdoms experience this, like not just humans. Mm. The animal kingdom feels it, and it's stressful for every kingdom, the plant kingdom, even the mineral kingdom, and the earth herself is in stress right now because these changes are hard to make. Mm-hmm. They're challenging. And one of the reasons people wanted to come and do want to come in right now, so it's prime time during the whole cusp, so 250 more years. I mean, we may come in again before the cusp is finished, you know. And I would say you're lucky if you can, because you're going to grow more and grow faster. But this is why. I mean, not just that it's challenging, which it is, but what's happening right now is that during the cusp, everyone is working to resolve their karma from all of the Piscean age that didn't get resolved. It's sort of like catching up on your homework. You know, like, or getting an assignment turned in late, but you still feel like you better turn it in. Or, you know, you're going to really get a bad mark. So we're everything. And it's interesting, my spiritual teacher taught me that karma starts with red blood. So if that is true, and I believe it is, animals have karma, just like humans. Isn't that interesting to think about? They have karma. So as we're working right now to resolve our karma, whatever was left over from the Piscean cycle, think of it this way. Right now, in your life, you are working on the hardest issues. The things you couldn't get settled over that 24,000 years. And so it's very difficult. It makes sense that we're stressed out, or that the challenges we face really feel hard to us. And so it's like we're sort of scraping the bottom of the barrel, cleaning it out, but down there is the gooeyest gunk. So, but we're all in it together. We're all having to work on it personally, you know, together. So let's talk about two different types, in a way I'll say, of karma. There is collective karma and there is personal karma. Collective karma takes the form of the breakdown of a society or the breakdown of a culture. So right now, our culture on the earth, all cultures of every country, are all breaking down. And they're going to break down even more, according to the wisdom teachings, that the way things have been will no longer be. And I think that means banking, military, education, medical, all parts of our culture are going to change. And I think we're already starting to see that, but it's going to change much, much more as we go on in more into the Aquarian cycle. Now, because the cusp lasts 500 years, if I can read my chart properly, okay, my glasses won't help because they're readers, but the actual beginning, the full beginning of the Aquarian cycle, I have it may be on the next, yes, let's see here. Yes, thank you, that's perfect. It right there, it is 2262. That's when the cusp will begin to end, or it will be ending in 2262. So, we've got quite a long ways to go yet before we hit the full Aquarian energy. And think of it as a time when all of the Aquarian types of things will be more fully present. And right now we're kind of in a mix, and it's still more Piscean than Aquarian right now. But it's sort of like chemicals, and you're, in a beaker, and you're pouring one chemical in, and the more you pour this chemical up here in, the more the beaker becomes like that upper chemical you're pouring in. And so these energies, literally, they're kind of like that. They're coming in and they're mixing. And right now we're still more in the Piscean, but as these years go forward now, it will shift more into full Aquarian energy. Now, I've got a handout. I love handouts. Okay, let's see here.
Me too.
Handouts are great. Okay, this is my little nifty chart of comparing the Piscean energy to the Aquarian energy. And let me just pass them around. Let me keep two of them. Take two. Make sure you have 2 pages, and make sure your 2 pages go all the way to the number 20. It's the 20's on the second page. And they're collated, so yeah. Thank you. Okay, so let's look at the difference in these energies, and this will help us understand where we're moving from and what we're moving toward. So, the Piscean column will be more familiar to you because that's what we've been living in, culturally speaking. So, there is the power of the individual was important during the Piscean time. We're moving to the power of the group. And it's really important, and this will come up a little later in our work too, it's really important to be part of the group right now. And to find a group that you can identify with. It will help you balance with these energies that are so weird. Now, the second thing, in the Piscean cycle, we had growth through sacrifice and suffering. Jesus died on the cross. You know, there was the idealism of suffering. And everyone believed, well, you have to suffer in order to grow. You know, that's a very common belief. What if that isn't true? Isn't that something? What if we don't have to suffer to grow? Mm-hmm. Well, in the Aquarian cycle, we're going to experiment with this. And we're going to begin to find out that we can grow through self-awareness, not just suffering. Now, in the Piscean cycle, there has been so much focus on sin. Sin, sin, sin. And I feel a lot of the focus on sin that a lot of Christian religions support actually makes sin stronger. You know, because we're taught even this, that we're born into sin. Things like that, you know. I don't know if you've ever heard of Matthew Fox. He is a Catholic priest. I don't know if he's still in the church. I think he left the church. But he was sentenced to silence for like umpty-ump period of time. And it was no short period of time, because he was not teaching that we were born into sin. He has a philosophy, and he calls it original blessing, that we're born into original blessing. Isn't that what if we were all taught that? How different we would feel about ourselves. I mean, it's amazing. I think it would be phenomenally different. So, then number 4, we've really been talking about that. The Piscean cycle, we're born into original sin, and in the Aquarian cycle, we're born into original blessing. Now, number 5, competition. and competition. Competition can be okay. I mean, in a way, it kind of brings out something in us, so that we may even touch a stronger part of ourselves, like athletes or something, you know. But in the Aquarian cycle, there will be more focus on cooperation rather than competition. And if you think of that, if the power of the group is what's important, cooperation. Because see, the individual competes, but the group cooperates. War, that's certainly been and is a very real reality in the Piscean time. Peace is being promised to us in the Aquarian cycle. Do you remember that song by Earth, Wind, and Fire? Now, I think that's who sang it, but I could be wrong, about the age of Aquarius. I almost tried to look up that song and bring it in here and play it for us, you know. We could all dance around. But the age of Aquarius, they were talking about, you know, peace and understanding and all these great things. And I think some people believe that peace isn't even possible for humans. You know, well, that's because we've been in 24,000 years of competing and warring. And so, of course, we might think peace is impossible, but it is possible. Cooperation and peace. Separation is part of Piscean energy. Unity and connection is the Aquarian energy. Singularity, which is a lot like separation, singularity. And then interesting, oneness. And oneness sounds like you're alone, one, like one. But oneness is we are all part of the one. So we're not alone. In the Piscean, the singularity was you're alone. And in the Aquarian, we are in oneness, which is vibrating more together. Polarity is a big part of what people believe is unavoidable in the physical dimension. But according to the Aquarian energy, there will be more integration and synthesis and less polarity. And so we won't see energies competing and battling with each other like good and evil. We'll see them working together more. There's a fear of altered states in the Piscean cycle. In fact, there have been times when, people were put to death if they experienced altered states. It's pretty bad. I'm pretty sure I've been singed a time or two, I'm pretty sure, burned at the stake. Maybe we all have, who knows? And it can make us afraid of altered states. Mm. I mean, there's those old memories back there and the cobwebs of our memories back in, back here in the back of our brain that tells us it's not safe. But in the Aquarian cycle, altered states will be embraced. And people who are intuitive will be more honored. A reward and punishment system was part of religion and spirituality in the Piscean. You're going to go to hell, or if you're lucky and you act just right, maybe you'll go to heaven. So there's this punishment and then there's this reward. But, my very favorite song is Imagine by John Lennon. And one of the things that is said in that song, imagine there's no heaven, imagine there's no hell. And in the Aquarian cycle, that will be more the way people think and what they believe. They're going to be good because it feels good to be good. They're not going to be good to avoid going to hell. Mm. Yeah. Or to make it to heaven. Yeah. So heaven and hell is a strong belief about the Piscean age, and no heaven or hell is going to be part of the new spirituality. It doesn't mean there won't be life after death, but that we're not going to be afraid of being punished. And punishment is not a reality. People think of karma as punishment, and what I'd like you to know is that karma is an opportunity to learn. It's never punishment. It's not punishment. And as soon as you learn whatever this is, the condition or situation shifts. In the Piscean cycle, there's been at least, pardon me, I'm getting hiccups. In the Piscean cycle, there's been a strong belief, at least in the West, in one lifetime. Although I have been told that a larger percentage of humans believe in reincarnation even right now. But we Christianity is very much about one lifetime. Mm-hmm. In the Aquarian cycle, we will have a belief in reincarnation. In the Piscean times, authority came or it comes from outside us, like religion tells us what to do, or the church tells us what to do. In the Aquarian cycle, authority will come from inside ourselves, our higher selves, our relationship with our teachers and guides on the inner, wisdom of the higher self, our intuition, all of these things that we will access through relationship with ourselves will be the authority. We'll be trusting that authority. Piscean energy is a separation of good and evil and the idea that they oppose each other. This is a very remarkable belief, and it's really shocking to a lot of people when I say this. What if good and evil are not opposed to each other? Scary thought for a lot of people. But good and evil truly support each other. That, like an artist has to use shadow in a painting for form to emerge. If there were only light, form in a painting would not show up. Mm-hmm. So shadow, the darkness, that energy is very important to define something. Good and evil work together. And we've been brainwashed. And I think, again, I'm not really sure how many religions teach good and evil oppose each other. Probably most, but I don't know enough about some religions to know for sure how many do have that belief, but it's very Piscean. And in the Aquarian cycle, we're not going to think in those ways, or we won't be taught those things. The Piscean energy disregards earth and nature. I mean, it's so sad that we are so insensitive to earth and nature and our culture. And we're doing ourselves in big time by that. In the Aquarian cycle, earth and nature will be more honored and will be more sensitive. We'll be caretakers of our planet. There's a gender and sexuality sort of rigidness in most of our society today. We're starting to see that shift some. But in the Aquarian cycle, there will be a lot of freedom around gender and sexuality. So people can be whatever, I heard one time someone asked in astrological reading, am I bisexual? And the answer was, no, you're trisexual. And it was like, okay, that's Aquarian energy. Yeah. It doesn't mean everyone has to be trisexual, but if you are, it'll be okay. And there'll be no prejudice. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. In the Piscean cycle, the needs of individuals are abandoned by the society. So the community, by and large, ignores poverty and lack of education, lack of health advantages, in the Aquarian phase, the needs of individuals will be more protected by the community. So, self-expression, it's pretty narrowly defined in the Piscean time. Like, for instance, of course this goes back to gender, but if you're a man, don't act too feminine. You can't wear flowers in your hair, even if you want to. Like your self-expression's pulling you to do this, but your society is saying no, no, no. So, in the Aquarian cycle, self-expression is going to be a lot more open. And the last point that I thought of when I was doing this was about masculine and feminine power. In the Piscean cycle, it's been very unequal. And a lot of times I feel that those of us who are women, that we have incarnated as men just because we needed to get certain work done, and we couldn't do it as a woman. And so women, the patriarchy has really dominated most of the Piscean time. But in the Aquarian time, the masculine and feminine power will be more equal. And I believe that when the feminine is wounded, it cannot help but also be true that the masculine is wounded. So during the Piscean time, when the power of male and female has been so unequal, both have been wounded. Yeah. So I know we could have a big conversation about all this. And yet right now I want us to take a break.